Of course they got exposed. There is no question that they got exposed. What you saw was the ingredients to their demise. If you are able to run the football on the Dallas Cowboys, you can take them. Now, I, for one, in the interest of fairness and full disclosure, had no idea it would be this kind of beatdown, had no idea that the Dallas Cowboys offensive line was even capable of being dominated the way that they were dominated yesterday afternoon. But I'm going to give even more credit to the Philadelphia Eagles offensive line, who looked as if they were the Dallas Cowboys offensive line. The holes that they were plugging for LaShawn McCoy, Shady McCoy, who showed up and reminded the NFL that he, too, is still big time, that rushed for 159 yards on 25 carries. I'm going to give credit to that offensive line for facilitating the Philadelphia Eagles rushing for over 250 yards on the ground. Obviously, time of possession was even. I'm going to give a lot of credit to Mark Sanchez, who threw a touchdown pass, ran for another, threw for 217 yards, completed 20 of 29 passes. Not a single turnover, just 2 Thanksgivings after committing the butt fumble in the Meadowlands in East Rutherford, New Jersey, against the New England Patriots a couple of years ago when he was a member of the New York Jets. The Philadelphia Eagles offensive line, as far as I'm concerned, deserves a game ball just as much as LaShawn McCoy and more so than Mark Sanchez. Yes, Jordan Matthews caught a touchdown pass. Yes, Jeremy Maclin and McCoy and Sproles, all of those guys contributed to moving the chains. Can't say enough about Chip Kelly, who's 16-4 in his last 20 games since the middle of 2013 in the regular season, who's 7-2 against opponents in the NFC East. Got to give credit where credit is due. This man is doing a sensational job coaching the Philadelphia Eagles, and he deserves credit for it. The defense showed up, neutralized Tony Romo. First time in 38 tries. The man hasn't thrown a touchdown pass. We get that. Didn't pass for 200 yards. DeMarco Murray didn't rush for 100 yards. The Philadelphia Eagles thoroughly outplayed the Dallas Cowboys because that offensive line got exposed. Or I shouldn't say that. They just had a bad game. They had a bad game because they are legit. They just had a bad game. The defense for the Dallas Cowboys got exposed. The coaching for the Dallas Cowboys got exposed. Everything just fell apart. The Philadelphia Eagles showed that if you can match their might, if you can get to Tony Romo and make him throw in a phone booth, if you can sit there and thwart that offensive line, you can dictate a lot of things with this team, and as a result, you can beat the Dallas Cowboys. In the end, the Philadelphia Eagles were the superior team yesterday. They are atop the NFC East, and the only reason I say they exposed Dallas, in all seriousness, is because that offensive line has to play at an elite level. Otherwise, the Dallas Cowboys are just an average football team. That is what happened. That doesn't mean they can't win. Doesn't mean they're not making the playoffs. It just means that your offensive line is everything. All of this Tony Romo and DeMarco Murray stuff out the window. It's about the offensive line for the Dallas Cowboys, who got thoroughly outplayed by that front four, Graham and those boys yesterday. For the Fletcher Cox and Graham and Garden and those boys. They came to play, and they outshined Dallas's offensive line.
Are you finished?
Sure.
Sure? Okay,
Sure.
Prim, it's now my turn. Do I get the floor now after that 8-minute soliloquy? Thank you.
Stop stalling. Get to your point.
I will readily admit I was shocked and I was sickened by what I witnessed for it seemed like it went on for 6 hours yesterday afternoon after my Thanksgiving dinner. But before I respond to all of Stephen A. Smith's cowboy-hating hyperbole, his bloviating, his premature celebrating, his ding-dong the witch is deading, let me just say this. Before I answer all that, I want to be very, very clear about something, Mr. Smith. I am not giving up on my Dallas Cowboys to win the NFC East. I am going to remind you, they are still 5-0 on the road, 5-0 away from Jerry World, where they are notoriously poorly prepared for game after game. That's 3 straight losses at home. The Philadelphia Eagles still have to face my Dallas Cowboys in Philadelphia, and the Eagles still have to face the Seattle Seahawks up next in Philadelphia, and they do have to go to the Giants and the Redskins to finish the year. So there's a whole lot of football to be played. But now, allow me to say, congratulations for now to Philadelphia, to its fans and to its football team, and especially to Mark Sanchez, who yesterday went from the Thanksgiving butt fumble to a Thanksgiving butt kicking. I am the first to agree to admit my Cowboys got their butts kicked in every possible way because the Philadelphia Eagles were extremely ready to play that football game, and my team was pathetically unready to play that football game. I knew it from the opening drive. Whoosh, the Eagles went 80 yards for a touchdown. What was it, 7 plays? And they could not stop the run because they look blindsided by Mark Sanchez, of all people, running the read option 21 times in that football game. So now in Washington, Robert Griffin didn't get to run the read option much more this year, but Mark Sanchez unveiled the read option 21 times after no times against Tennessee in their last win, and it looked like Dallas had had its Thanksgiving feast right before kickoff on defense. They looked slow, they looked sleepy, they looked unprepared, they looked caught off guard. They had no idea how to defend the read option run by Mark Sanchez, let alone his rollout after completion after completion. My hat is off to Mark Sanchez. But again, Stephen A. Smith, Jerry World for my Cowboys has become like home field disadvantage. I don't know what it is on that national stage with Pitbull at halftime, but it's like it's a neutral site for my Cowboys. So I tell you all the time, and I'm going to take some blame here. I was so bold and so confident, and we know that the players watch this show. I know the Dallas Cowboys watch this show because they always tell us so when they're on. I think I was so bold and confident that in the end, they took the Eagles not very seriously, or at least not seriously enough yesterday, because they came out like, we got this. After you beat Jacksonville and you rallied to beat Eli up in New York, you got this? No, you don't got this, especially at home where you always come out flat. It looks like the crowd is always sitting on its hands. And in the end, I got to apologize even to Benny Logan. I blasted him last week for blasting my Cowboys offensive line. He said they're just okay. They weren't even okay yesterday. They got KO'd yesterday, my offensive line did. So for now, Stephen A., my hat is off to you and your green team and your green tie and your green handkerchief. This is your day. You deserve it. You've had a lot of tough days thanks to my Cowboys, but I'm here to warn you, you're going to have some more before this is over.
Well, you can warn all you want to, particularly on a day like today, the temerity, the unmitigated goal for you to do that. It would be in line with who you are. What nerve. You are in no position to sit there and issue any kind of warnings to anybody on behalf of those Cowboys who just got shellacked yesterday afternoon. Matter of fact, Skip Bayless, if I recall correctly, that day, which was my birthday, by the way, October 14th, where when I was forced to don that disgusting Tony Romo jersey and that ridiculous cowboy hat because you, Skip Bayless, had challenged me to the bet and I had lost because the Dallas Cowboys had beat up Seattle in Seattle. If I recall correctly, we did bring up, you know, the possibility of Thanksgiving Day and what would happen. It was then that I said that the Eagles would beat the Cowboys on Thanksgiving Day. If I remember correctly, Skip Bayless, aren't you supposed to be wearing some kind of Mark Sanchez jersey or something? I think that's what you're supposed to be wearing,
No.
Skip. I'm not sure.
No.
My memory may not serve me correctly. We're going to have to go back to the videotape. Then we're going to have to go back to the... Okay, that's fine. That's fine. All right, just double check it. Just double check it. But in the end, Skip Bayless, here's the deal. The Dallas Cowboys are sitting there talking. Des Bryant is saying he can't wait until they get to Philadelphia. I got all of that. I understand it because they could very well go to Philadelphia and win that football game. I get it. All I'm saying is These invincible Cowboys didn't look so invincible yesterday. And it's one thing when you just have a bad game. It's another thing when a team shows the ability to punch you in the mouth, particularly by running the football themselves. It was the combination. Dallas Cowboys lost this game at the line of scrimmage. I'm not going to knock DeMarco Murray for having a 9-yard run as his longest run, or Tony Romo for not passing for 200 yards for a change, or you know, as Mike was discussing this morning with Ryan Rucco and the crew, is sitting up there talking about fatigue. I don't want to hear anything about fatigue. What the deal was is that the Dallas Cowboys lost the game at the line of scrimmage. Their offensive line wasn't protecting Romo nor run blocking as effectively as they had been all season. And defensively, the Philadelphia Eagles defensive line got after them. They got after Dallas's offensive line, okay? That's the reality of this situation. The Eagles' offensive line was balling, and their defensive line was balling. The Philadelphia Eagles won this game at the line of scrimmage, Skip. That ain't about fatigue. That's about the fact that you just got beat up on this particular day. It's just that simple.
Skip, what were you most upset about your Cowboys performance?
Let me, Prim, hang on. Here's the point to Stephen A. Smith. In the end, what happened yesterday, it was just the Eagles' day, and it was not my Cowboys' day. To quote the great Stephen A. Smith, it's a mere bag of shells to me, because the Eagles got every bounce, every break, and every referee call, starting with the early one, the outrageous uncalled pass interference on Dez Bryant. It was like the officials were even on Philadelphia's side, and I thought the turning point in the game, and you can scoff at me all you want about this one, but 14-7, Eagles up 14-7, early second quarter. Could we see that play in which Mark Sanchez turned back into Sanchez, butt fumble Sanchez? He gets a sack right in his face and loses the football, and it goes sideways to the right. And Stephen A., I'm here to tell you, if one of my Cowboys had fallen on that ball, I think it would have been a very different football game, because all of a sudden Mark Sanchez would have started doubting himself. Oh my God, am I turning back into that guy, that accident waiting to happen that I've always been? Instead, Andrew Gardner, the Eagles' offensive lineman, just happened to be right there at the right time and fell on the football. And on the very next play, Sanchez hits Macklin, and he's gone for 58 yards, and the game swung wildly back into the momentum favor of the Eagles. Yep, that would have been a turn. If my Cowboys fall on that football,
I'm sorry, Skip.
That's a whole different game.
I'm sorry, Skip Bayless. My apologies. Are you the same Skip Bayless that just finished praising Mark Sanchez just 2 minutes ago? Now, if that one play had happened, he would have reverted to the old Mark Sanchez. See how quick? See why it can't even? You can't even be taken seriously when you give somebody credit, because you just snatch it away. Mark Sanchez hasn't even had an opportunity to burp before you took the credit away from him that you gave to him just 2 minutes ago. 2 minutes ago, you just gave him credit.
Honest.
Now, before the man has had a chance to burp, you took it back. This is what you do?
Thank you.
This is what you do, all because of your Cowboys. They lost.
I'm all
they
about
lost.
the
And by the way, you're lucky
and
you get to talk for 2 weeks, because they got a bye week next week against Chicago, okay? You're just lucky.
Do they?
But they got stomped yesterday.
All right.
They got stomped yesterday. They got a bye week coming up against Cutler next week, by the way.
Then I had one last hurrah in this game, late in the first half, when Cole Beasley got loose with a little flip from Romo for 9 yards, and little Boykin manages not only to strip him, but the football sits right on the sideline for the Eagles to recover. It's unbelievable. As I tweeted, it was unreal, it was surreal, it was just the Eagles' day. I give it up, hats off. Eagles can trash talk and gloat and backslap and smile and laugh all they want to, because it was their day on Thanksgiving Day on the national stage that is Jerry World. Now let's see what happens from here on.
No, we don't have to see what happens from here on. We can see what happens next week and the week after that. But today, we don't have to see what happens from here on. We can gloat and lavish in the moment that took place
prematurely
yesterday.
Celebrate. It's okay with me.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I'm going to sit here and gloat about this all day long. Y'all got beat up.
You should. Because it ain't going to last.
Hey, Skip, can I get the line? Can I get the line? Can I get the line, Skip? How about them Cowboys? Can you say it for me, Skip?
You know what? I'm going to say this for you.
How about them?
How about them Eagles?